Hey everybody, Roxabox90 here, back with Commander 2015 spoilers. We got a whole bunch of them to discuss today, today being day one of the official WotC Commander 2015 spoilers. So we got a lot of articles that you can read if you go to the daily MTG page and read the articles. They have a lot of stuff discussing the design and so on, but we're going to talk about the cards. What new cards do we have today? Well, we have Banshee of the Dread Choir, which has a new mechanic called Myriad, which is whenever this creature attacks for each opponent other than defending player, you can put a token that's a copy of this creature onto the battlefield attacking that player, or a planeswalker he or she controls, and exile the tokens. So pretty much Myriad means multiples or multiplying of many, which means when you attack with this one guy, you can, and I realize it's a may, which is really important because you don't have to do this. You can politically attack one person, multiples of others, but not have the multiple attack one specific player you like. Kind of the political shenanigans you'd love on a mechanic. It also is just super cool that seeing your Banshee attack and then spread into a huge choir of attackers. Awesome mechanic. I'm very happy with this. The card itself is okay. It's 5 for a 4/4. Whenever it deals damage to a player, they discard a card. Nothing particularly crazy, but it is an uncommon. The main thing to know is this is the first Myriad creature or Myriad card we're seeing. Fiery Confluence is 4 for a sorcery. You choose 3 and you can choose the same mode more than once. This is something I don't think we've seen before. You can choose the same mode multiple times. There are plenty of cards, the commands being the most famous, where you can choose multiple mechanics on a card and gives you lots of flexibility. This one lets you choose more than once. 1 damage to each creature, 2 damage to each opponent, or destroy an artifact, and any combination multiples of any of these abilities up to 3 times. Seems really cool and flexible for red decks, I have to say. You can deal a bunch of damage to players, or wipe the field of smaller creatures and or multiple creatures, or destroy a couple or a bunch of artifacts. Very well costed, very cool flexibility, I like it. Blade of Cells, imagine sticking this on things like Blightsteel Colossus. I attack one guy with Blightsteel Colossus, Myriad, boom, you get a bunch of Blightsteels attacking all at once. You can win the game in one go. This kind of card seems really cool, and what's also to note, because Myriad puts tokens into play, if it has an enter the battlefield effect on that creature, then this card effectively gives you a whole bunch of triggers of that effect. And it's awesome. It's awesome that they're putting Myriad onto an equipment. Kalim's Captain is 5 for a 5/5 Vigilance Giant Soldier with Monstrosity 3 for 7 mana. Whenever it becomes monstrous, exile artifacts or enchantments. Okay, nothing crazy. 5 for a 5/5 Vigilance, decent stats, Giant and Soldier. The Monstrosity is a nice little bump in that you can at effectively instant speed exile all artifacts or enchantments, which for very creature heavy aggressive decks, which Giant decks tend to be, is the kind of thing you want to have at your option in a multiplayer Commander game. Seems like a decent, solid card. Scytheclaw, not such a fan of this card. Yes, it does the job. Whenever equipped creature deals damage, player loses half their life rounded up, and the real problem I have with it is that it's just super expensive. It's 5/3 to equip. I mean, it's gonna probably work well with someone like Kaseto, who will skip to him because he synergizes, and it's probably in his deck, to be honest. 3 for a 2/2. 2 target creature can't be blocked this turn if you have this on it. See what I mean? And in this case, if that creature's a snake, it gets 2/2. Oh yes, Snake Wizard Tribal is gonna be a thing. Thank you, Kaseto. Awesome stuff, awesome art, and that's kind of the synergy you're thinking about. But on its own, I'm not such a fan of Scytheclaw. It seems like a lot of mana and a lot of work for a very risky equipment. Mazirek Crawl Death Priest, 5 for a 2/2 flyer insect shaman. Whenever a player sacks another permanent, put a 1/1 counter on each creature you control. Holy cow, is this ridiculous. Think about it. This is on, it's a Cathar's Crusade effectively on every single creature you control every time a permanent is sacrificed. It's important to note that it's sacrificed, not destroyed, but there are so many cards in the game that make each opponent sacrifice stuff, or you can have specific target opponents sacrifice things, or you can just sacrifice your own things. If you recall, there are things like Titania. You can sack any permanent. You can sack your own lands. You can literally just sacrifice your own stuff, get all your dudes pumped up, and the fact he's an insect means he can synergize with other insects and tokens, and amazing art. All around win. Yes, he's expensive. Yes, he's vulnerable, but that mechanic just screams to be built around. Kaseto is a lot cheaper to play. Very different mechanic. Mizzix of Ismengus is 4 for a 2/2. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, chromatic cost greater than the number of experience counters you have, you get an experience counter, which means that you play him, and then if you don't have any experience counters, it's pretty easy to quickly ramp them up. And instant or sorcery spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each experience counter you have. Well, if you have, this is the kind of thing that experience counters, when they build up over the course of the game, will lead the game to ending more quickly rather than dragging out for hours, because experience counters, to my knowledge, you can't get rid of, which means any cards that work with experience counters get exponentially more powerful the more you have. Perfect example, makes your spells super cheap. You stick this in a deck that runs things like Omniscience or some ridiculousness that's really expensive, and he can over time make those kind of effects super cheap. Great build around Goblin Wizard. Daxos the Returned, yes. Remember Elspeth's mask here, or any of the Returns masks? Boom. Daxos the Returned is 3 for a 2/2 zombie soldier. That's an interesting combination. Whenever you cast an enchantment spell, you get an experience counter. That's pretty ridiculous. 3 would put a white and black enchantment creature token, which, remember, this triggers him. It has the creature's power and is equal to the number of experience counters you have. So that means as the course of the game goes on, Daxos is killed several times, but you build up your experience counters, and then for 3 mana, you can activate him, get more experience counters, make more dudes. He seems like the kind of aggressive zombie soldier. Makes sense, and he's very well costed, super easy to use, and realize that both him and Kaseto are both good for tiny leaders. I can only imagine this being ridiculously good in that format. Illusory Ambusher, 5 for a 4/1 flash. Whenever you is dealt damage, you draw that many cards. Okay, well, it's a 4/1, so ideally you want him to lock a bigger creature, but realize it's the amount of damage. So if you flash him in to block a bigger creature than himself, he can absorb the brunt of the damage and draw you a lot of cards. Interesting way of having instant speed card draw. Gigantoplasm is 4 for a 0/0. Enters the battlefield as a copy of any creature except it has X. The creature becomes base and power and toughness is XX. Scary thing to think about. If you make it a copy of an amazingly powerful creature and then they attack into it, you can potentially make your guy a heck of a lot bigger, which is kind of ridiculous. Very good clone, way better than regular clones, and awesome art. Skullwinder to wrap up our first day of spoilers. 3 for a 1/3 snake death touch. Amazing artwork, by the way. I'm so sad this is not a foil, but hopefully in the future. When it enters the battlefield, return target card from your graveyard to your hand. Then choose an opponent. That player returns a card from his or her graveyard to his or her hand. Essentially, it is a 2-sided and better costed Eternal Witness. That's how I think about it. Yes, it's a 1/3, but it has death touch. So overall, in terms of its stats, I think it's better than Eternal Witness. But the only thing is that you give your opponent the ability to get a card back from the graveyard to their hand, and they don't target it, which is kind of crazy. But realize that this is the kind of thing you want in multiplayer Commander, building synergy and connection with people, and the fact is that it's also it fits in the kind of deck, if you're getting rid of their graveyards, then this is the kind of card you would want to take advantage of your own. Seems really good overall. You can argue backwards and forwards, is it better or worse than Eternal Witness? I think that they do slightly different things, but they're both awesome cards. Huge fan of the design overall. Very cool stuff. So we got a lot of really amazing things to talk about today. I'd love to chat with you about it down below. If you haven't seen the cards, check it out. I'll link below in the description. Otherwise, if you enjoyed the video, then please tap the like button. If you're new to the channel, check in and subscribe. As always, Roxabox90 signing out. I'll see you guys next time.